What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the NFL preview show. We got the NFC West on deck, man. 49ers, they got to get right. They got to get right. It was a rough year last year. Rams on the come up, bringing back Stafford. We got the Cardinals, man. Somebody don't really know what's going on with the Cardinals. One of those teams that just kind of flies under the radar. And then you got the Seattle Seahawks, man, who have been, one of the more pretty good teams, one of the more steady teams in the NFL in recent seasons. But we're gonna preview that. We're gonna break everything down right after the intro. I'm NYG22, aka Unpopular Opinion Sports, with Big Pat Sports Talk and Coach Ed Gladney from Coach Ed's Amazing World of Sports. And this is the NFL All 32. Let's get it, baby.
Rising King, the Raisin Man.
All right. We're going to set it off with the Los Angeles Rams. Rams with Sean McVay, Matthew Stafford were 10-7 last season. And look, man, the Rams are one of the darlings, one of the favorites in the NFC. They've been one of the consistent teams. Of course, they did win the one Super Bowl, trying to get back there again. But what is it about this Rams team, man? They got them at 9.5. I kind of like that number, to be honest with you, man. But talk to me about the Rams, y'all, and what went on last year, and some of the things this team has to do in order to improve as we get into this preview. Because last year, I think they kind of flew under the radar just a little bit. Not a lot of teams was really thinking about the Rams as far as a Super Bowl contending team. Everybody was talking about the Eagles and the 49ers and, Detroit. But this Rams team, I picked them. Shout out, kudos to myself. But anyway, man, I did pick the Rams as one of my sleeper teams last year, and they proved me right. This year, not so much as a sleeper, one of the favorites actually in the NFC. But fellas, let's get into it, man. What is it about this Rams team that you seen last year, and what did they do well? Talk to me about what they did well and what was some of their strengths and weaknesses as we get into this preview, because I definitely want to break that down, man. Talk to me.
All right, so the Rams, man, last year, bro, they did some very good things, man, when it came to, making the playoffs. Like you said, last year, that was one of your sleeper teams last year, and they did very well when they actually got healthy. People forget that in the beginning of the season, man, they were injured. And when they started to get themselves together, they turned into a force, which I said they were going to be one of the most dangerous teams towards the end of the season when they started getting healthy. Their defensive line is very young and aggressive, with Verse and all those guys out there. They actually turned out to be very good without Aaron Donald last year. And then with Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp and those receivers got healthy, man, they made a strong push into the playoffs and should have beat the Eagles. They should have beat the Eagles last year in the playoffs. But things happened down the stretch. Saquon Barkley helped them out, and they were eliminated in the divisional round. But this team, man, can be very scary if they are actually healthy. So this is why these previews are essential to what we need to see what these teams will be like this upcoming season. So, Coach, man, to elaborate on what I just said, man, telling them about the stats and everything, what they did.
Well, in terms of their points for last year, they scored 367, which was 20th in the league. Points against was 386, which was 17th in the league. The simple rating system was actually a minus 0.06, which was 16th, but the strength of schedule at 1.06 is at 1.06. Now, the team's total points score for the year, again, was 365. Total yards was 5,666, but the yards per play was at 5.4. They completed 367 yards on 559 attempts for 3,868 yards, 22 touchdowns, and 9 interceptions. Rushing-wise, they rushed 450 times for 1,765 yards. They hit 15 touchdowns, and their average per carry was 3.9. Now, in league rankings, their point totals was 20th. Their yards was 15th. Their pass yards was 10th. Pass defense was 16th. The interceptions was 17th. Rush yards was 24th. Rush touchdowns was 15th. And defensively, points scored was 17th. Yards was 26th. Their pass yards was 20th. Pass touchdowns is 26, interceptions is 12, rushing yards is 22nd, and rush touchdowns is 10th. Now, in terms of a player that I wanted to highlight, I'm going to talk about Matthew Stafford. He completed 340 passes in 517 attempts, for a completion rate of 65.8, because I switched it.
Go ahead and talk about Stafford.
Okay, Stafford and his totals, he completed 340 passes and 517 yards. Completion rate was 65.8. Yards was 3,762, 20 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions.
All right, and was there any other player, anything that you want to talk about with the Rams, what they did last season, before we start moving on to what they did this previous off season?
No, I just focus on one player for each team. So,
okay.
Well, now let's get into, because I'm telling you, man, to be honest with you, I think the Rams need to improve on their defense. I like the pass rush, but look, man, they did lose one of the greatest players ever in Aaron Donald. So turnover is always key in the NFL. Let's see who they lost before we get into who they actually picked up. And one notable one, man, I got him on the screen, is the Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp no longer a Ram. He is now with the Seattle Seahawks. DeMarcus Lawrence went to the 49ers. So did Tyler Johnson, went to the Jets. So they lost 3 receivers. Jonah Jackson traded to the Bears. That's a key one right there, man. We always talk about the offensive line over here on this show. Edge Michael Hochik went to the Bills. Bobby Brown, the third. Bobby Brown went to the Panthers. And Christian Roseboom, also a Carolina Panther, but not a terrible list. Like I said, Cooper Kupp, the main one to me, because he was a staple in that offense 4 years, during that Super Bowl run that they went on. But y'all talk to me, man. Y'all get into the trenches and get into the the X's and O's, more than I do. So talk to me about some of these guys and who are they gonna miss going into this next season.
You mentioned it, the guy that you had on the screen, Cooper Kupp. I think he's going to be the main guy that they're going to miss because he meant so much to that franchise. When they won the Super Bowl, he was a Triple Crown winner. That doesn't happen often, even though Jamar Chase did it this past year. I think before Cooper Kupp did it, I think Steve Smith did it like 12 years before Cooper Kupp did it. So I think Cooper Kupp is going to be the major loss for this team, not just because of his skill set, what he did on the field. It's just what he meant to that team. Like, he was one of the backbone players of that team, man. He developed himself into one of the best receivers in the league, and he did it with the Rams, and he was homegrown. So that's who I think is going to be, one of the biggest loss for them this upcoming off season.
But Coach,
what you think?
What's your thoughts, man? Yeah, talk to him, man, about who could potentially be somebody that they miss in this Rams on this Rams team, because again, they was 10-7 last year. So, a good team, you don't want to lose too many players. But talk to me about what your thoughts are.
Anytime you have a senior veteran quarterback, you need to make sure that he's well protected. And Jackson and Noble to me are the keys, especially Jackson with the direct line for the defensive line right into his face. Now, if you didn't replace that, that's gonna be highlighted even more going forward during the regular season. So, and you guys know me. I always talk about the trenches. That's my biggest thing.
Yeah, most definitely. It all starts in the trenches. But the Rams are not just holding their hands and saying, we ain't going to do nothing. They're going to go out there, man. They went out there and they made some moves, man. They made some major moves. Matthew Stafford, he was rumored to get traded to the Giants, rumored to get traded, possibly to the Steelers and a couple other teams, but he ended up coming back to the Rams. They restructured the contract to pay him $44 million for the 2025 season. They went and got Jimmy Garoppolo, brought him back, I should say, to return on a 1-year deal to protect Matthew Stafford. I like what the Rams do here. You got a quarterback, a little bit of an injury, older guy, a little bit of an injury risk. You bring a solid backup, to protect that quarterback. Ronnie Rivers is playing running back now. Who knew, man? Shout out to Miss Ronnie Rivers. But running back Ronnie Rivers agrees to terms on the deal, so they add some depth there. But the big one that I got on the screen right there, Mr. Davante Adams signing a 2-year deal for $46 million. They did make some moves in the trenches. DJ Humphries, Alaric Jackson, David Quisenberry, and Coleman Shelton. And Akilo Witherspoon re-signed in the backfield there. I think that's key too. But who's going to have the biggest impact here? Who's going to have it? Because they got some re-signings and then they got some signings here. I talked about Stafford, talked about Davante Adams. Coach, you talk about the offensive line a lot. They made a lot of moves there. But I'm going to kick it over to Pat. Pat, talk to me about the moves the Rams made, man, and what's your thoughts on this?
The biggest move that they made was that man you was talking about, Davante Adams. A huge move for them. He can he replace what Cooper Kupp did over there last season with the Rams or the previous seasons? I still think he has a lot of juice in the tank, and I think he's the perfect guy to replace Cooper Kupp because they have similar styles. And I think Devontae Adams is actually a better route runner. But let's see if he can adjust to that system over there with the Rams, and let's see what he does, man. Him and Puka Nakau over there is going to be absolutely dynamite, and the tight ends that they have in that system that Sean McVay runs over there with the Rams. So I'm looking for Devontae Adams to have a bounce back season over there with the Rams, man, and actually turn into the number one target because Puka Nakua is going to be, in the slot, but the number one target on the outside. So we'll see what he does out there, man. But I think it's a great move for the Rams to get Devontae Adams in place of Cooper Kupp. What you think, Coach?
All right, you can go right to the slide that I have for you right there. And I'm in agreement with both of you guys talking about Devontae Adams. I mean, he brings the ability to run the total route tree, just like Pat highlighted. He has a great understanding of how to create separation against defenders. He's a sure-handedness. He has an elite ability to read defensive coverages, which goes into, his route running. Now, these stats that I have here are from the Jets. He played 11 games with the Jets, started 11 games. He was targeted 114 times, 67 receptions, 854 yards, 7 touchdowns, 12.7 average, and his for yards per game. His reception per games are 6.1, and his yards per game is 77.6.
So, yeah, I definitely
not bad.
yeah, that's not bad for only 11 games, man. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Play with the Jets too.
Yeah, imagine what he could do with the Rams this upcoming season, man. Those targets are going to go up, and those yards and touchdowns are probably going to go up too. So I think that was a great addition for the Rams, man. Devontae Adams. And if you do want to go a little bit further, Puna Ford coming over, signed a 3-year deal. That was a good one. DJ Humphries was a good signing.
Mm-hmm.
And bring about a kilo Witherspoon to help out that secondary.
Yeah,
was pretty good too. But what else did they do, NYG?
Yeah, man. I love talking about the draft, man. That's one of our favorite things over here on the Aboriginal Sports Network. Y'all hit that like button. Tight end Terrence Ferguson. The Rams did not have a first-round pick, so they starting off with a second-round pick. Tight end Terrence Ferguson, drafted number 46 overall out of Oregon. We're going to get into the depth chart here a little bit later, but giving Matthew Stafford a target here, I think, is key. You want to give him as many weapons as you can. He lost one of his favorite weapons in Cooper Kupp, despite, them signing Devontae Adams. I think getting a tight end to help him, over the middle is key here. Josiah Stewart, edge out of Michigan, drafted in the 3rd round. Rams trying to build up that defense. Jarquez Hunter, man. We spoke to Jarquez Hunter at the Senior Bowl, man. Shout out to him getting his opportunity. Drafted in the 4th round, running back out of Auburn. 5th round, Ty Hamilton, man. Ty Hamilton was one of my sleeper top 5 picks. If you watch my videos, man, Ohio State D tackle. Shout out to him. Paul Jr. The Rams have a unique way of getting these players with these unique names. Right. Shout out to Paul Jr., linebacker out of Mississippi, and then another one here, Kanata Mumfield out of Pittsburgh in the 7th round, wide receiver. So a couple targets there, couple weapons there for actually a lot of weapons there. They only took 2 defensive players for 3 for Matthew Stafford. But anyway, y'all get into it, man. which one of these guys, man, you think is gonna have the biggest impact in year one, or which one of these guys is your favorite picks, man, here for the Rams?
One of my favorite picks is Mr. Terrence Ferguson, man, from the University of Oregon, the tight end. He's gonna pay big dividends for the Rams this upcoming season. He fits their system perfectly. He's a bigger tight end that has sneaky speed, and I think him and Matthew Stafford are going to click very, very easily. Very easily, man. He's a big target in the red zone. He's a big target on those first downs that they normally get. You know, the Rams are one of those teams that, you know, they cut you. They cut you all the way down the field, man, with their passing game. And then Kyron Williams, when he gets the ball, he's super effective when he gets the ball. So this tight end, Ferguson, as long as he stays healthy, because they have tight ends that's there, but they don't stay healthy like Higbee, this guy can come in and fill that role easily. And I think he's easily going to be the best pick for the Rams out of the draft this season, man. Coach, what you think?
I agree with you in terms of Ferguson, you know, but the ones that I'm intrigued with is actually an interior defensive line with Hamilton and Stewart. I mean, you know, as the stat said, you know, they had problems in the run game, you know, being down into the lowest spectrum of the league. So, you know, you need to really solidify that run game, because if not, that's what teams are going to do. They're going to effectively attack you in the run game, which is also going to keep the ball away from Matthew Stafford and his weapons over there on offense. So Stewart, you know, at Michigan was a decent edge rusher, you know, so he's fundamentally sound, coached up right over there by our former DC for the New York Football Giants. So, you know, he understands the intrigues, the different aspects, you know, but he also understands the good fundamental. Don't forget, he played under Harbaugh, so, you know, he understands that. In Hamilton, you know, he's that type of defender that, you know what, he's a developmental guy to me for the NFL, but he has some skill set there that he can definitely help contribute to the Rams going forward. So, you know, I'm intrigued by those two defensive line guys.
Yeah, man, definitely. Like I said, Ty Hamilton was one of my top 5 D tackles, man, for our Giants coming into this draft. So definitely he was on my radar. And you know, Ferguson again got some targets from Matthew Stafford. Let's see who else they got, man. Let's take a look at the roster and let's see how they put it all together here, man. I know you guys are gonna give your breakdown and talk to me about how this Rams team is built and what they need to lean on and how they need to attack. You know, Coach, if you want to take the defense, Pat, you could take the offense, or however y'all want to do it. But to me, man, you know, I'm just unpopular opinion, man. You know, never mind me, man. No aficionado, but Devontae Adams, Puka Nacua, Tutu Atwell, Matthew Stafford, and them gonna be throwing that football. Kyron Williams, yeah, he's a good running back too, but you can also pass and use him in the passing game as well. It's gonna be a passing team. This offensive line. Arlick Jackson, left tackle, Rob Havenstein, right tackle, Kevin Dotson and Coleman Shelton and Steve Olivia in the interior. I don't know. Maybe they can hold up. We're going to take a look at the rest of the division and see how these other teams and these defenses look. But to me, that's one of the main things, offensive wise and defensive wise, man. Like Coach talked about it, man. Guys got to stop the run. But I'm gonna turn it over to y'all. Pat, what do they need to do on offense, man, to get where they need to go, man? Which is for them a Super Bowl.
Yeah, first and foremost, man, their offense is pretty doggone good. With Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua and Tutu Atwell as the third receiver. Now, their offensive line, you got Arlick Jackson, Steve Avila, Coleman Shelton, Kevin Dotson, Rob Havenstein is a pretty doggone good offensive line. They did protect Matthew Stafford last year pretty well down the stretch, so I'm not worried about their offensive line either. And you got Kobe Parkinson, Tyler Higbee, and Terrence Ferguson at the tight end position, so they can line up in a different set this year. They can line up in big sets, further their run game and still be able to attack you down the field in the passing game. That's going to be essential to this Rams team. And Kyron Williams and Matthew Stafford, Pro Bowlers, both of them. Blake Corum and Jaquez Hunter could come in and do some of the same things Kyron Williams can do, just at a lesser level. But it's not like they're losing much when Kyron Williams goes to the bench. They're not like, oh my God, it's over with. The only concern I have with the Rams offense is depth when it comes to the receiver position. Who's going to step up? Is it Jordan Whittington? Is it Mumfield? Is it Mario Williams, True Edwards? Is it one of those guys, Xavier Smith? One of those guys are going to have to step up and play that Robinson role that Robinson did so well for them last year when he came into games. So that's what I'm thinking when it comes to this Rams offense. Coach, what you think when it comes to the defense? I think the Rams offense is going to be pretty good.
I agree with you on the offense. Defense, still a work in progress. I mean, now you have some young talent. Braden Fisk, big, strong guy, definitely disruptive type of a player. When he gets going, he's definitely one of those players. Ford, just brought over. We're going to see how he fits in, on the second level. I mean, Jared Verse, coming off that edge, hustles, talks a lot out there on the field. So definitely one of those guys who, is a young developing player. Spates is a good linebacker. He's effective as long as you can keep him clean. On the back end, I definitely think Karen Kinchins is definitely going to be a leader in that backfield as they go along. The cornerbacks are still, developing, but they're decent. But again, if you look at the stats, if you look at the numbers, and a lot of these guys are returning. So this is the second year in the system together. So can they step it up? Then when you go to the second level, I mean, the draft picks are on. Most of their draft picks are right there in that second level. So that speaks volume also to the depth of the defense right there. So you want to develop them, especially guys who are later in the draft but have some ability. You want to see what they're able to do. You don't want to rely on them consistently, especially on the second level. As a collective group, you want to mix it in. To get mix them in with other veteran guys. So, that's what I see with their defense is definitely they got to step up, because if their defense continues to be in the lowest spectrum of the league, no matter what you do offensively, the other team is just going to keep the ball away from you in the most part, get you frustrated, and who knows what'll happen going from there.
Yeah, Coach. I'm a little concerned about their defense, but it's only because I think they need a little more time, a little more seasoning. A little more seasoning. We'll see how the additions pan out this year, but I think with a little more seasoning, this Rams defense can be better. But can they be good enough this year to get to a Super Bowl? Let's take a look at the schedule and see. We're going to break it down for y'all. So, looking at it here, man. That's a rough stretch there to start. Man, ain't do y'all no favors. Houston, Tennessee, you at Philly. Get a break with Colts, but then you got San Francisco, Baltimore, Jacksonville, New Orleans, San Francisco again, Seattle, Tampa, Carolina, Arizona, Detroit, Seattle, Atlanta, Arizona. It's not terrible, but I think that first portion of it, you're gonna have to make it through. because Houston is a tough team. We talked about Tennessee in the AFC South preview. I think they're a sleeper team. Philly is the Super Bowl champs. You know, the Colts you can beat. Maybe you get one there. Then you got San Francisco and Baltimore. That's rough. You know, Jacksonville, New Orleans, and then you know you got your division. You gotta play your division, but Tampa, Carolina, Arizona, you can beat those teams. Detroit, we'll see. Then Seattle, Atlanta, Arizona, you can beat those teams too. 9.5, I'm still taking the over. I think the Rams could get 10, 11 games with this schedule. It's that first 7 games that concerns me. But what's your thoughts, man? Over under 9.5 here for the Rams.
Yeah, I'll put the over, especially if they can beat 2 of those 4 big teams in their first part of the schedule. If they can beat 2 of those Houston, Philadelphia, Baltimore, and San Francisco games, because San Francisco and them, they always play each other well. It doesn't matter what happens in that division, they always play each other well. But if they can win 2 or 3 of those big games in the first wave, then you get, you know, New Orleans, San Francisco again. I think they can beat Seattle twice this year. They can beat Tampa Bay. They can beat Carolina. They can beat Arizona at least once. And that Atlanta game, that may determine, you know, playoff seeding at the end of the year at that Atlanta game. But I got them over 9.5. I got them actually getting 10 games this year. What you got them doing, Coach?
Yeah, I'm with you guys. I'm thinking it's about over 9.5. Yeah, 10. You know, I'm going to see about 11. But the key for me is, like you said, the start. And then if it's a physical start, because Philadelphia, you know, is physical. Frisco, a division opponent, is always going to be physical. Baltimore is going to be physical. Look, we can't sleep on Tennessee, you know, because, you know, we did our review with them and we were like, okay, so.
Yeah, their roster is pretty good.
Houston is, you know, to start is a tough team. So my concern is, how do you come out of that stretch going into after the bye week, going into the rest of your schedule? Because you can't have any major losses. You just can't, you know, because, you know, as we just talked about the depth, you know, when you look at a lot of their second levels on offense and defense, going into that second half, and you got the bulk of your division games, something critical, it could change your whole season. So, but I'm with you guys, you know, 10, 11 games, yeah.
Yeah, man, most definitely. This Rams team, again, they've taken pretty much and kept their main components together, and that's their coach and their quarterback. You know, and we've seen coach quarterback combinations, you know, win Super Bowls, win multiple Super Bowls. I like to think that McVay is one of those coaches that, you know, transcends the game. And Matthew Stafford, I mean, he should go down as a Hall of Fame quarterback. You know, he's got a ring, so I think a team like the Rams could be one of those teams that people are not paying attention to, and they just boom. Next thing you know, they right there, NFC Championship game. You know, maybe going against the Eagles or Commanders, or well, you know, we're gonna talk about the NFC. We just getting heated up here on the NFL on ABSN. But any last thoughts on the Rams, fellas, before we move on?
Nah, they're just not going to surprise anybody this year. But I think they're going to be a good team, and I think they're going to be over on the 9.5. I think they get 10 wins.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. You know, don't have anything extra, so you know the win total is about right.
All right. Well, we coming back. We getting into the Seattle Seahawks, man. Seattle Seahawks coming right back here, man. So y'all stay tuned. All right, we back. Seahawks, Seattle Seahawks, man. 10-7 last year. They got them a new quarterback. Mr. Sam Darnold. Geno Smith no longer there. Now a Raider. So we're gonna get into all that. But 10-7, this Seahawks team is in transition, of course, moving on from the era of Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll. Now, trying to move forward with this new regime in Seattle. And look, they wasn't a bad team last year, though. But what did you guys see out there on the field? And can this Seahawks team really contend for this division? You know, because I see the 49ers and I see the Cardinals and I see the Seahawks. And I'm wondering, like, all right, who's going to step up and challenge the Rams?
Our New York Giants, man, it was crazy, but the Seattle Seahawks, they've always been a tough team over there in the NFC West, man. They've always been playoff contenders, and last year it was the same, man. But they had a lot of things like injuries that happened. Kenneth Walker got injured for a little part of the season last year, and they were, when they found themselves, they were pretty doggone good. But this Seattle team, man, we're gonna see what they do this season. Last year just didn't work out the way that they wanted last year. They had, some hiccups and stuff, and it just didn't end well for them last year. But we'll see what they did this offseason to see if they can actually, compete, with the NFC West this year. As you saw, we did the Rams. Let's see if they could be a team that could compete with the Rams and the 49ers and the Cardinals this season after what happened to them this past offseason. And Coach, elaborate a little bit more what they did last season as far as what they did on the field. Coach, let them know.
Well, in terms of their offensive production points, they were 18th in the league, scoring 375 points. Defensively, they were 11th at 300, giving up 368 points. Their simple ratings system was at 1.25, which is 15th, and the strength of schedule was at 0.84. Now, the total points that they scored last year, again, like I said, was 18th. Total yards was 5,647. Yards per play was 5.5. In terms of passing completions, they completed 413 in 593 attempts, 4,020 yards, 21 touchdowns, and 16 interceptions. Rushing wise, they ran 383 times for 1,627 yards, 17 touchdowns, and a 4.2 average in terms of carries. League ranks in terms of points, they were 18th. Yards, they were 14th. Pass yards were 8th. Pass touchdowns were 20th. Pass interceptions, they were 25th. Now, the rush yards were at 28th. Rushing touchdowns were at 11th. Defensively, they were 11th in points scored. Total yards was at 14. Pass yards was at 11. Pass touchdowns was at 17. Interceptions at 12. Rushing yards was ranked at 16th, and their touchdowns was very high. They ranked at 4 in the league last year. So one key player, even though he's leaving, was Geno Smith. He had a very good season last year. Completed 407 passes in 578 attempts. His completion percentage, 70.4. He threw for 4,320 yards, 21 touchdowns. This is what hurt them, though, is the interception. So that's a key factor right there. So back to you guys.
Yeah, man. So Geno was a key loss here. You know, came front. Geno Smith was definitely a key loss. But let's take a look at some of the other players that are no longer on the Seattle Seahawks. Joe, I'm not going to hold you. When you lose your number 1 and number 2 receiver and DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett and your starting quarterback, I don't know how your offense going to look. I am really intrigued to see what this roster looks like a little bit later, y'all, man, because in the tight end left, Pharaoh Brown. You lost George Fant and Stone Forsyth and Laken Tomlinson on the offensive line. Roy Robinson Harrison, man, the Giants snatching up all y'all players, man. Trey Brown left. Artie Burns gone. Oh, man, this ain't looking good for Seattle, y'all. Because I just want to know how you're going to replace your starting quarterback, starting number 1 wide receiver, and your number 2 wide receiver, and your tight end. And 3 offensive linemen. Wait, I ain't even get to the defense, really. I'm going to let y'all tap into that, man. Talk about these losses, man. I don't know. Look like they lost a lot to me.
Yeah, Seattle lost a lot, man. One of the main losses was Geno Smith, if not the main loss. But you know me, man. I'm gonna go with toughness all the time, man. And one of the main people I want to talk about they lost was DK Metcalf, man. DK Metcalf was a huge loss for the Seattle Seahawks, man. He was an enforcer. He was the guy that got the offense, stimulated as far as being deep down the field, making those clutch catches over the middle of the field. Because who wants to hit that big sideboard coming over the middle of the field, man? So losing DK Metcalf, they traded him to the Steelers, and I think he's going to do well out there with the Steelers. But losing those 2 guys that you see right there on the screen, Geno Smith and DK Metcalf, man, that is a huge, huge, huge loss. And then they lost Tyler Lockett on top of it. But my main focus, man, is Mr. DK Metcalf, man. What are those receivers going to do now that DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett is gone? We're going to see what the Seahawks can do, man. And Geno Smith, you lost maybe 70% of your offense last year. The only thing you got back is Kenneth Walker. So we're going to see what they do, man. But, Coach, talk to him, man, about these losses, bro.
Yeah, I mean, good points in terms of the offensive side of the ball for the players that they lost. Bring up the list of guys again, please. I think the biggest one that I'm looking at is on the defensive line. Roy Robinson Harris, because defensively, they were pretty decent, overall in the league. They were in the middle to the upper part of the league, rankings within the league. So, and the biggest thing, you want to always take away the run. So, Roy Robinson Harris is one of those guys who can definitely fit that mold and taking away the run, defensively. Now, you want to talk about the offensive line and Fant and Tomlinson. Yeah, that's key, especially, you haven't, since you're losing Geno, that means you're going to be having a new quarterback. So, anytime you lose players in the trenches, y'all know me. I always talk about it. Can't harp on it enough. Normally I'm focused on the offensive line, but this one I'm a little bit more focused on the defensive line, because what do you do to line up someone next to Leonard Williams to be an impactful force on that defensive line?
Yeah, man. But it's always 2 sides of the coin. Let's see who they added. Sam Darnold, the biggest one here, because you had to go out and replace Geno Smith. He signed a 3-year, $100.5 million deal with $55 million guaranteed. I don't know if Sam Darnold is a better quarterback than Geno Smith. So I don't think you're upgrading there at all. And B, okay, you added Cooper Kupp. Let's talk about it. And Valdez Scantling. Is that equal to Metcalf and Lockett? No. So you got Darnold, and he's going to be throwing the ball. We're going to look at the depth chart to Cooper Kupp and whoever you had there last year, and then Jigba and Valdez. I don't know, man. I like the addition of DeMarcus Lawrence and Jonathan Hankins. You needed to add to your defensive line, so definitely kudos there. Shaquille Griffin coming back in the secondary. But to me, man, I just don't think they did enough offensively, man, to replace what they lost. Bringing in Darnold, Drew Lock. We've seen him last year up close and personal with the Giants. Lord have mercy. But y'all talk about it, man. Who are they gonna? Who's gonna benefit here? With this team, man. Which one of these additions is key to you guys, and or which one do you like the most?
I definitely agree with you with the key additions, man. I don't like what they did too much offensively besides Cooper Kupp. Valdez Scantling does not produce what they lost, and we'll see what Cooper Kupp still has left in the tank. But defensively, love what they did. And I want to talk about the main guy that they brought over defensively, and that is DeMarcus Lawrence, man. DeMarcus Lawrence was a huge get for those guys. It gives them some great edge rush presence on this team, man. And I think he's going to have a great season. You have a bounce back season. He has a chip on his shoulder. He's going to be healthy again. He's playing with the 12th man over there in a dome, so he's going to be faster. I think he's going to get back to being D-Law, man. DeMarcus Lawrence over there with the Seattle Seahawks, man, was a great get for them, man. So we're going to see exactly what he does, but I love what they did defensively as the key additions last year, man. But Coach, what you think, brother?
In terms of, hold on a second. In terms of the key additions for Seattle, I'm going to talk about one of the ones that you guys said offensively. And I have a slide here for you, and it's Cooper Kupp. With the Rams, first of all, he's a crafty veteran who plays well in the slot and outside position, does well in quickness. He'll put a defensive back in an awkward position and a conflicted position, plays with a great high football IQ, understanding the field position, the situation, which helps him to be a more effective and a more efficient player overall. Now, in terms of what he did last year for the Rams, on 162 targets, 100 receptions, 710 yards, 6 touchdowns, and a 10.6 average in terms of receptions. I mean, if he can bring that over now, he's going to need some help. Yes, he is. But if he can play like that, maybe even step it up a little bit more, he's going to at least be on par with Tyler Lockett. They're going to need a definite number one, but I think he can be on par with Tyler Lockett and what he did last year. So back to you guys.
Yeah. I gotta see what else they did here, because I'm not pleased. I'm not pleased with this right here. This list. Let's look at the draft, y'all. Seattle, come on, man. Looking at this draft class, though, I must say, pretty good. Gray Zabel, he was one of my top offensive guards in this class. They got him round 1, number 18. Safety Nick Emmanwari. I'm so bad with names, y'all. Forgive me. some people just don't do some things well. Pronouncing long names that I'm not familiar with is not my thing. But I'm gonna call him Nick from South Carolina. Number 35, pick 35 there. Good safety, man. Hard hitting. I like the pick. Elijah Arroyo was my top tight end in this class. You know what I mean? Definitely getting him in round 250, man. And then you get Jalen Milroe. So you got a quarterback that you can train, you know, because we all know Sam Darnold ain't really. I mean, I know it, but maybe some people think he can be great. But again, you get Jalen Milroe, he can be a QB of the future if you coach him up right. Added some other pieces here, man. A lot of picks, Seattle. Torrey Horton, Damian Martinez, running back out of Miami, like him too, man. But guys, man, a lot of picks they had here. Y'all talk about a couple of them, man. And who are some of the picks you guys like for this Seahawks draft class?
I actually love this Seahawks draft class with Gray Zabel in the first round, Nick Imamwari out of South Carolina.
Imamwari, all right.
Yeah, Elijah Arroyo, Jalen Milroe. Man, they drafted for present and future with this draft, man. Ricky White in the 7th round out of UNLV was absolutely great to get. Mason Richmond out of tackle out of Iowa is actually a great get. And Damian Martinez was a great get out of Miami. We give him another power back. You know, Chardonnay gets dinged up again. But the guy that I liked the most was Elijah Arroyo, man. I like that pick for them. Hey, Coach, you said they needed that number one receiver. It could be a number one tight end over there with the Seattle Seahawks, man, because he can do receiver. He can do whatever you need him to do. And he's a better blocker than given credit for. And, man, he has speed to burn. And I think he's going to, you know, continue on that lineage of Miami tight ends, man, going into the league, the Shockies, the Grahams, all those guys coming out of Miami, man, the Greg Olsons, all those guys. So I think he's going to handle that tradition well, and I think he's going to get a lot of targets over there in Seattle, to be honest with you. I think he's going to be turning to be that number one guy, man. But, Coach, what you think about the Seahawks draft here, man?
You guys hit on a lot of the key guys, you know, and I agree with you 1,000%. One player who I'm intrigued by, one because I've seen him play for a few years, but I like how he's being surrounded, is defensive tackle Riley Mills from Notre Dame. You know, you're going to give him the opportunity to develop, learn from veteran guys over there. He's going to understand how to play in the NFL, but he has some skill sets. He plays with a nice aggressiveness. He was taught well at Notre Dame. Notre Dame plays very good defense over there. So I love that fact that he's going to be there and he's going to develop, being around the guys that, you know, are there on that defensive line. So back to you guys.
Yeah, like I said, man, Elijah Arroyo for me, that was the guy. Real quick though, man, talk about Jalen Milroe, fellas, because you know everybody want to hear about the quarterback. Talk about Jalen Milroe, man, and do you think this was the right fit for Jalen Milroe going into the NFL?
Yeah, because he gets to sit behind a veteran and learn the system. And he brings an element that the Seahawks haven't had in a long time. Maybe Russell Wilson in the beginning of his career. Yeah, he was pretty dope, man. At Alabama, he just has to learn the system and learn how to do those layered throws. If he learns how to do those layered throws, he's gonna be all right over there in Seattle. Because with Cooper Kupp, he doesn't, you know, have to be super accurate with a Cooper Kupp out there. And they have some receivers out there that can get the ball deep in, Valdez Scantling, and don't sleep on Torrey Holton out of Colorado State. Big guy, 6'3", 6'4", could play in the slot when Cooper Kupp needs a break, and Cooper Kupp could go to the outside, or they could vice versa. Torrey Holton could go to the outside, and that running ability is just something that you cannot teach. So when things break down out there in Seattle, they have a guy that could just take it to the house at any given time. He's gotten better with his deep ball. It's the intermediate to short passing game that you worry about with Jalen Milroe, being accurate on those out routes, being accurate on those post routes, being accurate on deep digs across the field. So he's going to have a chance to learn behind Sam. Who's out there? Sam Darnold. And we'll see. He might be the starter here soon with the Seattle Seahawks, man. But, Coach, what you think?
I've had my concerns about him, especially when he transitioned over to the new coaching staff. He had a little bit of the struggles because that was more of a pro style passing attack. But once he became comfortable, you saw how effective and efficient he was. And then you add his athleticism, down the road. Yes, you're right, Pat. He can become that type of quarterback that's really going to put defenses in great conflict. Because how do you defend him if he can get those intermediate passes down pat? So I'm with you 1,000%. I think it's the right situation where he can sit and learn, and that to me is the lost art of the NFL. And yes, I said lost art because quarterbacks sitting for a year to learn. There were days past that you would see how they became elite. So, and I'm not saying he's going to be elite, but if he learns well and he becomes comfortable, he has the tools to become that type of a quarterback. Back to you guys.
Yeah, Jalen Milroe, I think it's something to watch. It's something to watch in Seattle. Let's take a look at the roster and see what he has to work with. Smith-Njigba is a guy that I like as a wide receiver in the slot. Cooper Kupp, we know what he does. Then you got Torrey Horton, Ricky White III. So I mean, you got some guys there. They got to develop. I think it's going to be a lot on Cooper Kupp's plate. I don't know if he's like that no more. So a little worried there. I do like Noah Fant, the tight end. I like the offensive line that they're building, especially with the addition of Gray Zabel. You got Charles Cross, who a lot of us liked over here. Olu Atami, who they drafted last year, Christian Hayes, and then Abraham Lucas. It's going to be a lot on Sam Darnold and those receivers. So I think actually if you put a guy like Jalen Milroe in there with Kenneth Walker, Zach Charbonnet, and I'm telling you, man, it's a trend coming in the NFL when you can have a running quarterback and a good running game and build a good defense, build through your offensive line. Seattle might be cooking if they do it the right way. But right now with this roster, offensively, I don't think they're there. Defensively, love Leonard Williams, DeMarcus Lawrence. I think you got a good secondary with Julian Love, Witherspoon, Kobe Bryant. I think that's a good group right there. So it's going to be a lot on that front seven, as they say, Ernest Jones, Tyrus Knight, those linebackers. And then, like I said, they added Lawrence and Leonard Williams. But I'm going to turn it over to the football guys, man. Coach, Pat, man. Y'all know how we do, man. Why don't you guys flip on this one, man? I want Coach to take the offense. Pat, you take the defense, man. So I'm going to start off with Coach, man. Talk to me about how Seattle can be successful looking at their roster on offense.
I mean, looking at their offensive line, that to me is the key to everything. I mean, you have two good tackles right there. You're getting Zabel to fit in there. Christian Haynes is serviceable. So, and then within Njigba, Valdez Scantling and Cooper Kupp, that is a good that is a good receiver tandem. You know, Kenneth Walker is a dynamic running back, and then Charbonnet right behind him. You know, then you have Damian Martinez. You know, coming up along the way. That if they can protect Darnold, that offense can put up points and be a lot more productive. So, you know, and that's going to be the factor. Now, is it going to be what they had last year with Geno and everyone else that they lost? I don't think so. But if they can be middle to the pack to say pushing to the top 10, maybe the bottom of the top 10 with that defense, I think they're going to be better than most people are giving them credit for. What do you think, Pat?
I think their offense is going to be, middle of the pack at best, because I think it's going to count on Sam Darnold. Let's see what Sam Darnold does in that Seattle system when he came from the Minnesota system with that O'Connell over there. He's a real quarterback guru. Like he handles his business over there. But to get to the defense, man, you got Big Cat Williams, Byron Murphy, Jaron Reed, and DeMarcus Lawrence on that defensive line. Let's get it. Let's get it. You know what I'm saying? Like that defensive line. Then you got Jonathan Hankins to come in to help out against the run. Riley Mills from Notre Dame, like you said, getting busy out there. I think he's going to have a heck of a time out there playing in Seattle. You got Tyrese Knight and Ernest Jones, who's a very good middle linebacker, and Nawu, who's an absolute monster, getting towards the quarterback, and he flies all over the field. Then you got Josh Joby. He's pretty good. Julian Love, shout out to Julian Love, solid safety. Kobe Bryant, not Kobe Bean Bryant, but Kobe Bryant from Kansas. Then you got, like I said, Julian Love. And then you got Reek Woolen and Witherspoon. This defense is legit, man. This defense will be able to keep them in a lot of games. So it's going to be up to Sam Darnold. Can you close out games for these guys? Can you make good passes and not turn over the ball with the Seattle team? Because if they don't turn over the ball and they give Kenneth Walker that ball and Charbonnet that ball and they're running up and down the field and they're putting up 20 to 24 points a game, it's going to be hard to beat the Seattle team, man.
Yeah.
They are super athletic on the defensive side of the ball. So I actually approve this roster except for Sam Darnold because I got to know what he is. I got to know what Sam Darnold is. He was a one-hit wonder over there with Minnesota. And when the onus was put on him, he showed that he saw ghost again when it came into the playoffs against the Rams. So I put that loss on Sam Darnold when the Minnesota lost to the Rams in the playoffs. That shouldn't have happened. But we'll see, man. But Sam Darnold is on you, bro. I promise you it's on you. And they will get rid of you very soon. And one thing before we go to their schedule, if Jalen Milroe is taught right, and you get that RPO with a Jalen Milroe with those guys over there, it will be a problem over there. Because, man, if you do guard up everything and he sees a slither of daylight, boom, he is gone. And that's going to be hard to stop because now your linebackers got to come up. So now get his deep ball right. Pause, but get him throwing those deep passes right to Valdez Scantling. That's what he does. And get him a number one receiver that he can trust. Yeah. I love doing these previews, man. The Seattle team is actually better than what I thought they would be as long as the quarterback position shows up because Jackson Smith-Njigba is over there with Cooper Kupp and Valdez Scantling. Ricky White coming in. Yeah, Torrey Horton. They're not that bad. They are not that bad. They can compete, but NYG.
Are they better than 7.5, though, fellas? Let's take a look at the schedule. 7.5. 7.5. Seattle won 10 games last year, though. But they start off with San Francisco, Pittsburgh, 2 tough games off the bat. New Orleans, Arizona, Tampa. Arizona, we're gonna get into them next. I think they're gonna be an improved team. Tampa, division winner. Jacksonville, Houston. So it's really about, to me, what they do on the back end of this schedule. Because coming out of the bye, you got Washington. Then you got Arizona. Then you go to the Rams and to Tennessee.
Which ain't no punk.
Remember, Tennessee, we talking about Tennessee is going to be a better team. Then you host the Vikings, and then you go to the Falcons.
Woo.
That's a tough stretch. So, 7.5.
This is a tough one, bro.
Yeah, this one is tough.
If they had a solid quarterback, I would say easily over.
Man.
But Sam Darnold,
I'm gonna go under, bro. I'm gonna go under.
You gonna go under?
I don't think they get to 8 games. No.
Only way they don't get to 8 games if they trash in their division. If they can't win 2 or 3 games in their division, then yes, I will say under. But I think they can compete with Arizona. I think they can compete with the 49ers this year after what happened to the 49ers. That Rams team might be the bane of their existence this upcoming year because I think their defensive line is going to get after them. But, man, you got to think, they can beat New Orleans. Is Aaron Rodgers going to be the answer over in Pittsburgh? They can beat Jacksonville. They can beat the Colts. They can beat Carolina. And, yes, they can beat Tennessee. I'm gonna say over. I'm going to say they get at least 8 wins this year. Only because I think that defense can compete with every last one of them teams on that damn schedule. I think their defense could go blow for blow with every last defense on that, except for the Vikings. But other than that, yeah. I don't know, Coach. What you think, Coach?
Talk to him.
They'll go 3-3 in their division. I'm going over. And I think they can win between 10 and 12 games.
10 and 12? Wow.
Holy smokes.
Now, here's the thing. You said it best.
Give you the big screen on this one.
You said it best that they can play with Pittsburgh. But some of the top teams outside of their division come to them. That's a long, people forget to go to that Northwest, like coming from Tampa. That's a flight. Mm-hmm. So that also travel can take certain teams, they can take the energy out of them. Minnesota comes to them.
That 12th man is something to deal with over there.
Yeah, so it's I'm looking at it, and if they go 3-3 in their division, which I think they will, I can see them getting 10 to 12 games.
Who's the 3?
Now that's contingent upon Sam Darnold, and I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. I understand what happened in the playoffs and at the end of the season, but I'm thinking that, you know what, he might be able to do it, especially in the beginning, because the beginning of the season, bring up that schedule, Pat. The first game with Frisco is always a battle, but it's in Seattle. I give them that. I think they can beat Pittsburgh. I think they can beat New Orleans. Arizona, that one I don't think they can get. I think they can get Tampa Bay. I think they can get Jacksonville. I think they can get Houston. Washington, okay, that's tough. Arizona, I think they'll get that loss. See, they'll win their division games at home, and they'll lose them on the road.
Okay.
So, Minnesota, some Tennessee, I think they can get. Minnesota, they're going to play their butts off because, you know, Sam Darnold has something to prove. Atlanta is a toss-up. Indianapolis, the Rams, and Carolina. They can win those games as long as Sam Darnold, Pat, you even said it earlier, what quarterback are we going to get? If Sam Darnold is just a third, 2/3 of what he was last year, this team will win.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
So I can see them 10 to 12 games contingent upon Sam Darnold. That's really what it boils down to.
The road games worry me. You go to Pittsburgh, you go to Washington, you go to Tennessee, you go to Atlanta. I don't like them playing in Atlanta. I know it's a dome, but again, it's East Coast. Don't like them playing in Pittsburgh. Definitely don't like them playing in Washington. Carolina, we'll see. Again, that's why this is fun, because this is the first division we're previewing for the NFC. So we're going to see how some of these other teams look, man. I'm telling you, I think Carolina might be a little bit better team, people thinking. So it ain't no giveaway. That's what worries me about Seattle. It's those road games, you know. I think you'll play well on the road in your division because it's your division. But Pittsburgh, Washington, Tennessee, Atlanta, Carolina possibly could be a problem for them. We'll see how they shake out. But again, I'm taking the under. My colleagues are taking the over. And we will be right back. Well, guess what? We got another one, y'all. We got another preview for y'all. And we're going to get into the Arizona Cardinals. We'll be right back. Y'all hit it. All right, we are back with the Arizona Cardinals. Kyler Murray, quarterback, Jonathan Gannon, head coach. I like to start the head coach quarterback combination because that is what teams, are basing their teams off of these days. But 8-9 last year, people be sleeping on the Cardinals. Kyler Murray came back from the injury, had a pretty decent season. They got him at 8.5 this year. So the Cardinals, can they challenge the Seahawks and the Rams for this division? Last year, I think this was a team that the Cardinals are one of those up and down teams. They start hot, finish cold, or start cold, finish hot. One or the other. But talk to me about Arizona. What you seeing out there on the field, guys? And Kyler Murray. Is Kyler Murray that dude for the Cardinals? I think these are some of the questions and even Jonathan Gannon. Is he the right coach? Because at some point you got to get over this hump. That is San Francisco. That is the Rams and even the Seahawks. You've been struggling against them too, but talk to me, fellas.
The Arizona Cardinals. What can you say about the Arizona Cardinals based on what they did last year? It's that man sitting right there, man, in your screen, man. Kyler Murray. They're going to go as far as Kyler Murray takes them. Is Kyler Murray going to be that franchise quarterback like they paid him to be? Got Marvin Harrison Jr. out there with him. They do a lot of good things out there, and then some games they just don't play up to their ability. And that's what hurts this Cardinals team, man. They got good running backs out there. Good tight end, one of the best tight ends in the game right now, Trey McBride. A very up-and-coming defense, up-and-coming offense, a hot shot coach. They were 8-9 last year, and this is a team that you didn't want to take lightly last year. It's just mistakes and injuries. John Connor, can you stay healthy the whole season, or will you get terminated like you normally do during the regular season? You'd be on the bench. But I believe this team will be taken as far as Kyler Murray takes them. But Coach, what you think about what they did last season? Let us know what they did last season, and we can get into their preview of their offseason and what their roster and schedule looks like. Let's get it, Coach.
The Cardinals are an intriguing team. You know, in terms of points scored last year, they were 12th in the league, scoring 400 points. Defensively, they were 15th, which is middle of the league at 379. Their simple rating score was at 209, which is 12th, and their strength of schedule was at .85. Now, their team total points scored was, at, again, like I said, 400, with the yards at 6,090. The yards per play was at 5.9. Now, in terms of passing, they completed 374 yards in 543 attempts. Their total yards passing was 3,639 yards with 21 touchdowns and 11 interceptions. Rushing wise, they ran 463 times for 2,451 yards and 18 touchdowns. Their average per carry was actually 5.3. The league ranks in terms of points was at 12. Their yards, total yards was at 11. Their pass yards was at 18th, and their passing touchdowns was also at 18th. Their interceptions was at 11. Their rush yards was at 7, and their touchdowns ranking was at 7. Defensively, their points was at 15. Total yards was at 21. Pass yards was at 14. Pass touchdowns was at 5. Interceptions at 24. Rushing yards was at 20th, and their rush touchdowns was 18. Now, the player to highlight, Pat, you just talked about it, which was Kyler Murray. 372 completions and 451 attempts, 68.8, so roughly 69% completion, 3,851 yards, 21 touchdowns, and 11 interceptions. So that speaks volumes, like you said, Pat, to their overall success. It's going to be contingent upon him. So that's what I have for you. Back to you guys.
So, yeah, Kyler Murray, Marvin Harrison Jr., though, not a lot talked about. Had a very good year last year as well. But I think that's what Kyler Murray needed. But let's see what he lost. Because it's the NFL, man. Zach Pascal, Jackson Barton, Tryson Colin, Will, old friend, buddy Will Hernandez. Still around, ain't you? Kazir White, Julian Awkward. I don't know. Matt Prater might have been their biggest loss. I don't know, guys, man. It just look at this list and just talk to me about, because I was struggling to figure out which one of these guys that they really gonna miss like that. So maybe y'all got some answers for me. I don't know it all. I really don't. That's why I put Zach Pascal on the screen. I'm confused.
One guy I think they're gonna miss is because of a leadership aspect is Kazir White, man. Kazir White, man, as far as a leader for this team, he was that linebacker that went in and did what needed to be done. He was the absolute vocal leader for these guys, man. Like, when he was on the field, he commanded that defense. He made tackles. Not a huge stature linebacker, but just what he meant for that Cardinals team. He's one of those guys that had the turnaround of this Cardinals team to be a team that believed that they can win at any given time. So when you lose a guy that has leadership like that and it's tough and he goes in, he hypes people up on the sidelines. Yeah, this list is not high on premier players, which is good. Yeah. So this is the only player that I see that losing him, can hurt them a little bit in Kazir White, man. He was there for those younger linebackers to go out there and do their things. He was a leader. So leadership is key when it comes to an NFL team, and my beliefs when it comes to any NFL team. But Coach, who do you see on this list besides a Kazir White, if there's any, that you think that that's going to hurt them in the future here?
It's contingent upon what you did to replace it, but where do I always go? The offensive line. On a little side note, I like the Naquan Jones because Actually, back in the day, I coached a player named Laquan Jones. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah, but he was a skill guy.
What are the odds of that?
He was
Yeah.
a skill guy. But it's going to be the trenches, man, for me. Barton, Colon, Hernandez. And here's one of the biggest reasons why, too. Don't forget, your quarterback is barely 6 feet. So you need to create alleys sometimes for him to pass. So, what type of replacement guys do you have bringing in? They got to be comfortable because he's very quick. He dances around. So that elongates your blocking assignments. So some guys are not used to that. All of that comes into play. So that to me is where it starts right there. It starts on the offensive line, with those three guys right there.
Yeah. They didn't lose much. Let's see what they gained. All right. Getting into it. Jacoby Brissett. Signed him, of course. I like this Josh Sweat signing. They signed him to a 4-year, $76.4 million contract. Needed to add to their defense. Also like them bringing in Dalvin Tomlinson, former New York Giant. Shout out to him. Calais Campbell still playing football, man. Back with the Cardinals. And Akeem Davis Gaither signed a 2-year, $11 million contract. So the Cardinals doing work on defense. I applaud the Arizona. I'm liking what they doing so far, y'all. I'm really liking it. Zay Jones, bring him back. You give Kyler Murray some targets here. Trey McBride, he got a contract. Coach talks about the offensive line. You did re-sign Evan Brown and Kelvin Beachum. So, but which one of these signings you guys like the most, and which one's gonna have the biggest impact in your opinion?
Me personally, man, I like this man here, man, Mr. Josh Sweat. He brings a championship attitude to this team. He's a very good edge rusher to pair with Calais Campbell and Dalvin Tomlinson and those young linebackers that they have. And I think that he's going to be the key to this defense. Josh Sweat coming over as the premier edge rusher from the Philadelphia Eagles. He has, like I said, he has a Super Bowl, so he can tell these guys on how and what it takes to win games in the NFC and win a Super Bowl. So I agree with you, NYG. They did a lot as far as gaining and didn't lose a lot. So this Cardinals team, this preview is looking pretty good so far for the Arizona Cardinals. I think they can compete. But coach, besides Josh Sweat, if you have anybody else that they picked up, who do you think is going to be that guy for the Arizona Cardinals, to take them to the next level?
All right, so let's take a look at this slide here, and I'm talking about Mr. Dalvin Tomlinson, former New York Giant. This is with Cleveland. He played in 16 games, started 16 games. And we all know Cleveland has a pretty stout defense. He had 26 total tackles, which I don't expect that, high tackles from interior defensive linemen. 13 solo, 13 assisted, 6 tackles for a loss, 3 sacks, and 18 quarterback assists. Now quarterback hits. He stands at 6'3" and weighs 325 pounds. He's a stout run defender commanding double teams. Again, he commands a double team, and he also holds those double teams. This allows his teammates the freedom to make plays on the football. So linebackers don't have to always worry about offensive linemen getting to them because he's there holding those double teams so they can make the plays. He's strong enough to push the pocket in pass rushing situation, and he plays with a high level of football IQ. What many people don't know is coming out of high school, he went to Alabama, but he could have went to Harvard to play football. He was that smart, and he's always shown a high level of intelligence on the football field. So that's who I think can have a great impact for the Arizona Cardinals. So back to you guys.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. You know, New York Giants fan. Dalvin Tomlinson played with the Giants for some years, and he had an impact on that team, and we know what he can do. So I'm definitely with you there. Calais Campbell, man. Calais Campbell. He's still playing, and he's still good.
Yeah.
Don't sleep on that signing as well. And then we talked about Josh Sweat. So they did work on that defense. Let's see what they did here in the NFL draft. Oh, more defense. Let's go, Arizona. I'm getting hyped about the Cardinals right now. Walter Nolan. Bringing in Walter Nolan. D tackle out of Mississippi, man. We scouted him over here at the Aboriginal Sports Network, and he is a beast. Yes, he's very good. Will Johnson, cornerback out of Michigan, getting him in the second round. I think that was a steal. Jordan Birch, edge out of Oregon. Cody Simon, Denzel Burke. They went D tackle, cornerback, edge, linebacker, cornerback. The Cardinals ain't playing. They trying to fix their defense, man. But y'all, I had to get hyped for Arizona for a minute, man, because I'm going to tell you, man, I be struggling to find Cardinals fans out here. Yo, we know one, you know, maybe two, but get hyped about your team because this team can be a good team. They can compete in this NFC West. We're going to look at the roster, but again, to me, what they did in free agency so far and with this draft class, I mean, they had a focus. They know what direction they want to put their team in. You got Kyler Murray. You got Marvin Harrison Jr. You got Trey McBride. Yeah, what you need to fix? Your defense. They went all out, man. But talk about this draft class, man. I'm fired up about this Cardinals team, y'all. Let's go.
Yeah. This Cardinals team, what they did in the draft was dope. Yo, this team has surprised me like the Tennessee Titans did. This Arizona Cardinals team might be a force to be reckoned with, man. Tune in to the ABSN, man, NFL on ABSN with these previews, man. We are showing you that there are some surprise teams out here. And then you get Josh Sweat, Calais Campbell, Brandon Browning, Dalvin Tomlinson, and you draft Walter Nolan behind it. Woo! That defensive line can compete out there with Seattle. You know this Cardinals team? Yo, it's looking pretty dope out there, NYG. I'm telling you. Them boys out there, they finna start playing, man.
Bro.
They finna start playing. But, Coach, let them know about something about this draft that you like, Coach.
Defense, more defense. I love that fact, man. I really do appreciate it. Like you said, Walter Nolan with those veteran guys. Here's the thing that I like. First of all, Cody Simon, Jersey boy.
Yep.
I like the fact that you got a Michigan cornerback and Ohio State cornerback. That's going to force them to compete. They already are rivals on the field in terms of college. So now that's going to amp it up. So they're going to have to go out there and really fight. And like you said, I love the fact that they attacked their defense. They said their defense is in the lowest spectrum of the league, and that's what you need to do. You need a defense that's going to go out there and stop the opposing offense, maybe take the ball away, and give your offense the opportunity to go out there and do what they do and go out there and eat. So I really do love everything what they did in their draft. Even Hayden Conner coming from Texas, who was coached up by Kyle Flood, former head coach at Rutgers, and Kyle is an outstanding. Forget him as a head coach at Rutgers. Follow him as an offensive line coach. He is phenomenal. He knows what he's talking about. And Connor, with the right development, can actually be a very good plug-and-play type of offensive lineman. So, but that's all I have for you. Back to you guys.
Yeah, Coach. again, let's see how they put it all together, because Jonathan Gannon, remember,
Gannon.
former defensive coordinator for the Philadelphia Eagles. So, I believe this is second year in Arizona. So let's see what type of team they're building, and let's see how they put it all together here on paper. They don't play the games on paper, but on paper, I like what they doing. You know what I'm saying? On paper. You got Michael Wilson, you got Marvin Harrison Jr., Zay Jones. Of course, we talked about Kyler Murray. James Conner, one of the better running backs, I think very underrated. Look out for our boy Shakes is going to do top running backs in the NFL. So look out for that, man. I think James Conner could be on that list. But Paris Johnson, Evan Brown, Forholt, and Isaiah Adams and Jonah Williams on the offensive line. I mean, Kyler Murray, if protected, should be able to get the ball to Marvin Harrison Jr., Zay Jones, Trey McBride, and those weapons over there. And this defense, we've been talking about it. I like with this Buda Baker, Max Melt, Garrett Williams, man, Jalen Thompson, Will Johnson, Josh Sweat, Matt Wilson, Akeem Davis-Gaither, Baron Brown, and Nola Walt, Dalvin Tomlinson, Calais Campbell. You know, you got Cody Simon back, man. You got backups, Denzel Burke, who they drafted, man. Look, I'm going to let y'all get into it, man. Pat, we'll start with you on the offense, man. Is this offense good enough to compete in the NFC West? I just want to focus on their division, because we're going to get into the schedule, but in the division, can they compete in this division?
Heck yeah, they can compete in this division, man.
Talk about this offense,
why they cannot compete in this division, you know? Yeah, Marvin Harrison at the receiver on the turntables. You got Zay Jones, Michael Wilson. Don't forget, they got Xavier Weaver and Greg Dortch coming off the bench. You get the ball in their hands, they can do some amazing things. That offensive line, is it the greatest? No, but is it the worst? Hell no. And you got Kelvin Beachum coming off the bench. That's pretty doggone good. Then you got one of the best tight ends in the league, and Trey McBride does everything, Mr. Everything for the Arizona Cardinals. He's the security blanket when Marvin Harrison is getting bracketed. Look, you got James Conner, the Terminator. Can he not get terminated this year and stay healthy? He is an absolute beast when he is healthy. He catches it out the backfield. He runs between the tackles. He can get to the outside. He can do all the things that you need him to do. This offense is very versatile. So, yeah, I think this offense can compete in the NFC West for sure. Like, why can't they compete in the NFC West? They're actually built for the NFC West. And, Coach, you get ready to break down the defense, and guess what? Gannon is a defensive guy, and I think he's put his stamp on this team. Not a lot of people are going to think about that. He's a defensive-minded coach, and look what they just did with their defense. They revamped it from top to bottom. But Coach, talk to him.
Max Melton. There you go, baby. Max Melton. So, seriously talking about this defense, man. This is another one that I'm excited. You know, Campbell, Tomlinson, Nolan, right there. Josh Sweat incorporated in there. Browning. I mean, you sit here and you look at it. Those starters. That's no slouches right there. There are no slouches right there for the most part. You got a rookie starting, projected to start, but you know what? I think that they're service and they can compete with just about anybody. You know, and then your second level, with Simon going in there, Owen Papo. I can't say his name. Papo. Zaven
Oh.
Collins.
Yeah, Owen Popoa.
Owen Popo, thank you. Denzel Burke is in it. Joey Blunt, you sit here and you look at this defense, and it's like, as a defensive-minded coach, you just get your hands together and rub them together, and you start smiling because you could say, I'm a mad genius with these personnels out here. I can bring them from here, from there. They're playing an odd front, so, you're going to come from different angles. You don't know who's going to come, so, yeah, I like this defense, man. So I'm really excited to see this. The NFC West might be a defensive league conference, a division.
Yeah. Talk about that though, Coach, man, because the NFC West is normally known, 49ers, Rams, good offense. 49ers, good offense. Seahawks have had good offense with Metcalf and Lockett back in the Cardinals, back in the day with Kurt Warner and company. But might be flipping.
I agree with you.
Let's see, though. Let's see if they can get over this 8.5. They got that's pretty high for 8.5. I mean, they won 8 games last year, so somebody in Vegas or over there at BetMGM, shout out to them. They high on this Cardinals team too. Let's take a look why. You're at New Orleans, home to Carolina, at San Francisco, tough game. Seattle, Tennessee might be on the same level as you. At Indy, you get Green Bay, then you go to Dallas, then it picks up Dallas, Seattle, San Francisco, Jacksonville, but then you got Tampa, Rams, Houston, Atlanta, Bengals, Rams. That's tough to end the season. But the first portion of this schedule, I think Arizona can get off to a hot start. And if they get off to a hot start, can they get to 9 wins? Ooh. You know what?
Yeah.
I'm going to say I'm going to go with the over. I'm going to go 9 wins for Cardinals. I'm going to go the over. I'm going to go over 8.5. I know it might be reaching. It might be an unpopular opinion, but I like what this team has done. And I like the direction that they're moving because they're moving in a defensive direction and they're going to be focused a lot, I think, with Kyler Murray running and James Conner and that running game and that offensive line. And they're going to be able to take deep shots from Marvin Harrison Jr. and Trey McBride. Pat, break it down for him, bro.
There's not a
break down that
word.
offense.
There's not a dang word that you said that is wrong with this Arizona Cardinals team. I'm going over. And looking at their schedule, I think they could be 5-2 or better out of their first 7 games. The only game I have any concern for them is the Packers, and I think they can out-Packers the Packers. I'm just going to be honest with you. And with that defense, if they take advantage of what I believe San Francisco is this year, we're going to preview them next. But if they could take advantage and win those 2 NFC West games in the beginning of the season, I think they go 6-1 at the very least in the first 7 games. I think they could beat Dallas. Division games that could go either way. They can beat Jacksonville. They can beat Tampa Bay, another division game. They can beat Houston. They can beat Atlanta. They can beat the Bengals, because if their defense plays well against the Bengals and holds the Bengals from scoring 30 points, I give them a heck of a chance to beat the Bengals. I got this team winning 10 to 11 games, bro. Based on what I've seen and based on what they've done with that defense, and if they go with that defensive mind of Mr. Gannon, this is going to be a tough out for anybody in the NFL with that roster. And Kyler Murray, you forget that he's a little jitterbug. So those plays where you can lock some of those guys up, if he takes off and run, damn what? Yeah, man. I like the Arizona Cardinals. Over. What you got, Coach?
It's tough. I know. It's a tough division to preview.
I
ain't gonna hold
love their defense. I really do. I think that's probably going to be the strength of their team, to be honest with you. And that's not taking anything away from Marvin Harris Jr., Kyler Murray, McBride, and all those guys. But I think the defense is going to be the strength. But I got them going under.
Oh wow!
I honestly think they're only going to win 2 games in their division.
2?
2, yeah. Now they might start out well, but that back half now, that Monday night, Kyler Murray, I think he is, because he's from Texas. I think he's going to go home and he's going to try and show out. And it's right after a bye, so that's okay. That's cool. But I'm looking at it and I'm taking the under, man. I'm sorry, but. And Pat, I disagree with you. Cincinnati, late in the season, cold weather, coming from Arizona, and Cincinnati's offense. Yes, I know Cincinnati doesn't play defense, but that offense for Cincinnati, I mean,
they're not built like a cold weather team. They're not built like a Cincinnati team. They're actually worse built for the cold than Arizona. I'm telling you. I'm telling you. Why?
Arizona though has always had a history of having a hard time of playing in cold weather. They just have. So it's
but their defense leads them. They are built for cold weather.
That's fair.
Even if they drop the Bengals game, though, I mean, you can beat Houston. They're in a dome. The Rams play in a dome. Tampa Bay plays in warm weather.
I don't know. I agree.
Dallas is in a dome.
So,
the Rams are in a dome, man.
Like I said, I just see them going under, and I think it starts with a lot of it with their division. I just see them winning 2 games in their division, and that's really because I don't think that they're going to win a game against Los Angeles. I just don't.
That's fair. I definitely think they can beat Seattle and San Francisco.
They can split with those 2, yes.
And we're gonna get to San Francisco next. We're gonna get to them next. And as a matter of fact, we'll be right back. Hit it, Pat. All right, we are back with the San Francisco 49ers, man. We're going to wrap this thing up. The NFC West 49ers. They got high hopes over there in San Francisco, but they are going through some things for sure. Last year, the 49ers, 6-11, very down year for San Francisco. San Francisco was in the Super Bowl like damn near every season, it seemed like. Last year, they didn't even make the playoffs. Very disappointing season for the 49ers. And they made a lot of moves. Lost players, gained players, signed players. But one thing's the same, is the expectation is to win a Super Bowl. And that's what we're going to talk about. Can they get back to the Super Bowl here? MGM seems to think they have a good chance. They got them at 10.5, fellas. 10.5. They went 6-11 last year. I want you guys to focus on that. Talk about what went wrong with the 49ers last year and what do they need to do to fix their problems, because we don't expect this from the 49ers. We expect 10.5, like that MGM said. But y'all talk about it, man.
The 49ers, man. Listen. This team here, 10.5 wins after coming off the 6-11 season. I don't know, man. We're gonna have to see what they really did this offseason, because they had a lot of turmoil going into this season, man. They had a lot of injuries. Dre Greenlaw was injured for them last year, pretty much the whole year. George Kittle's getting older. Chris McCaffrey's getting injured again. You know, is Brock Purdy that quarterback that they could depend on after giving him his money, you know, to lead them? Is that defense going to be the same? Because they've been led by that defense. You know, they lost, you know, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk. He was hurt last year. Can he bounce back and have another good year? Their draft picks, are they going to be able to step up and, you know, take on that culture of the 49ers going into this season? Like NYG says, Super Bowl aspirations, bro. Like, is this a Super Bowl caliber team? We going to see. But last season, they sure as hell didn't show that. And it was a variety of reasons. Injuries. No, I mean, they didn't have the chemistry that they had last year. A lot of doubts. But we're going to see what this 49ers team is about. But, Coach, let them know what they did last season, man, and what did they actually do last season as far as on the field. Let's get it.
Numbers, and you see that, you know, offensively they scored 389 points, which was 13th in the league, but defensively they were towards the bottom. It's giving up 436 points for 29th in the league. Their simple ratings system was 1.16, which is middle of the pack. Strength of schedule was 1.6. Now the total team points again was 389, but they totaled in yards 6,397, which their per play was 6.2. Now passing, they completed 349 passes for 5 out of 533 attempts. Yards, they threw for 4,234 yards, 23 touchdowns, 16 interceptions. Rushing wise, they rushed 457 times for 2,163 yards, 17 touchdowns, and a per carry of 4.7. Their league ranking in terms of scoring was 13th. Yards was 4th. Passing yards was 4th. Touchdowns was 13th. Pass interceptions was 25th. Their rushing yards was 12th. Touchdowns was 12th. Now the defensive rankings, the points scored was 29th. Total yards was 8th. Passing yards was 8th. Touchdowns 15th. Interceptions 19th. Rush yards 18th, but rush touchdowns was 30th, which is a lot. Now the player to highlight, of course, is Brock Purdy. Just got his money. Completed 300 passes out of 455 attempts for roughly 66%. Yards was 3,864, 20 touchdowns, and 12 interceptions. So he has decent numbers. So speaks to what he can do on the field, which is why they believe he is the quarterback, which they gave him the money to. So we'll see as we go along. So, but that's all I have right now. Back to you guys.
Yeah. Purdy got his money. But what else did they do? You know, because this 49ers team, again, they got expectations, man. So this is going to be key. Looking at these additions and these key losses. We're going to start with the key losses. Couple quarterbacks, Dobbs, Allen, of course, not significant because Purdy was your man. But they traded Jordan Mason to the Vikings. Elijah Mitchell went to the Chiefs. And Deebo Samuel traded to the Commanders. That one, as a Giants fan, pissed me off. But, I mean, like, you trade one of the top 2 wide receivers, him and Brandon Ayuk. You lost Charlie Heck, Jalen Moore, Aaron Banks, John Feliciano on the offensive line. Leonard Floyd is gone. Dre Greenlaw, ouch, gone. Malik Collins, ouch, gone. Javon Hargrave, ouch, gone. Charvarius Ward, ouch, gone. Talano Hufunga. Broncos went to the Broncos. He's out of there. That hurts. I mean, and you got some depth pieces there as well, but they lost a ton, man. They might have lost as far as impact wise, like the players, the significance of the players that they lost, and then how many players they lost. Because we're doing these lists, and yeah, when I gotta break the list up and put half to one side, half to the other side, you lost a lot. We're gonna see what they gained, but again, so many significant players. You could talk about Deebo Samuel, Leonard Floyd, Hargrave, Hufunga, Travaris Ward, but who do y'all think, man? It's the Aboriginal Sports Network. Hit that like button. Pat, who you think is the biggest loss?
Man, looking at this list, this is why I'm saying I'm worried about them. I am worried about these guys, man. Seriously. I am super worried about these guys. Look at the list that they lost, man. Good Lord, man. They lost both their backup running backs. They lost Deebo Samuel. They lost 4 offensive linemen. They lost Leonard Floyd, Campbell, Greenlaw, Collins, Hargrave, Ward, Yadam, Flanagan Fowles, Gibson, Hufunga. But the guy I'm going to focus on, man, is going to be this man, Travaris Ward, man. That's going to hurt them a lot, man. Travaris Ward guarded their number 1 receiver on the other side, and he made plays on the ball. Him and Hufunga and all those guys, I think he was a glue guy that held all those guys together and made their secondary so feared. And then not only do you lose most of your secondary, you lose most of your front 7 too, man. They held the key players and Nick Bosa, but other than that, my goodness, did they lose a whole roster this offseason, man? That's why I am worried about these boys going into this season. Super Bowl? I don't know about that, man, but coach, talk to him.
Well, in terms of the losses, looking at this, I mean, that's 13 players on defense, man. You got 11 to on the field. That's 13 players on defense. And usually, honestly, defensively, when you think about your roster, you're anywhere from about 24, maybe 26, somewhere in that range. So that's a big percentage. But the player I'm going to talk about the most is actually Jordan Mason. All right, because he was a serviceable backup because Christian McCaffrey is always out in terms of injuries. And last year, he ran for 789 yards, which averaged about 5.16 yards per carry. 5.16 per carry. So that tells you that he's a productive running back, and he can step in and fill in when a player like McCaffrey is out, and McCaffrey is always out. So to me, that's the player who I think, is going to be difficult to replace next year. So you just got to see who they brought in. So back to you guys.
Yeah, man. Let's take a look at who they brought in. Let's take a look at it because it was a hell of a off season here for the 49ers. I talked about the Brock Purdy signing. Mac Jones, bringing him in to be the backup, re-signing Cal Juszczyk, signed a couple more tight ends, Ross Dewelly, Luke Farrell. Of course, George Kittle got his money. And I think that's what this was about, guys. It was about paying Purdy, paying Kittle, paying the guys that they wanted to pay. They did trade for Bryce Huff. You see him there on the screen. Fred Warner got his money, so talk about what the 49ers have done here, because we've doing these previews and it's very interesting. We see a lot of teams going out and returning their roster, bringing guys in, bringing guys out. We see a lot of teams that just focus on some of their key players and just retaining the main guys on their team. And I think that's what the 49ers were trying to do. Now, they had to get rid of some guys to do that. But you talk about the quarterback, George Kittle, Ayuk, huge check, and then you, of course, Fred Warner. But yeah, man, did it equal out? Did it equal out? Did they lose too much to prevent not losing too much? Because I kind of feel like that's what they was going, because they had to prioritize some of these players. They had too many good players. That's what happens when you have a roster full of good players. Some of them going to have to go, and you're going to have to decide who you want to keep and who you want to let go. Did the 49ers make the right decision in letting Samuel, Hufanga, and some of the players that they let go, Ward, and keeping Purdy, keeping Kittle, signing Warner, signing Juszczyk? Y'all talk to me about these key additions for the San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah. Key addition I'm going to talk about for the 49ers, because he's going to have a lot of pressure on him. That's Jason Pinnock, formerly of the New York Giants, man. When he's going to have to take the place of Tufanga. And I do believe this guy. Yeah. I do believe this guy's a good player, but is he the type of player that they're going to need? Because they're going to need that guy in the back end to cover up some of those deficiencies they're going to have at the cornerback position. And when it comes to blitzing in and getting after the quarterback, he's very good. But what is he going to be like in coverage? What is he going to be like a leader out there on that San Francisco defense? Because he's going to have to be one of those guys. We all know Fred Warner is the guy. But he's going to have to be the leader in that backfield, man. Because they lost everybody at that safety position. So Pinnock is going to have to step up, and he's going to have to make some plays in order for that defense to stay the 49ers defense. And one thing we always talk about here on the Aboriginal Sports Network, the ABSN, hit that like button, is culture. Can he adapt to the culture over there with the 49ers as far as being a coverage guy? Because he's going to have to do both based on what they've lost and based on what they brought in. We'll see what they did in the draft, but this guy Pinnock, man, he's going to have a lot on his plate out there with the 49ers this upcoming season. But Coach, talk to him, man. Who do you think is one of their best key additions this offseason?
My key additions is not even a player. It's their former DC, former head coach of the New York Jets, Rob Saleh, returning 49ers. Now, he has familiarity with the organization, having success in the past as a DC. He's comfortable running their philosophy, that they've been running, which is a wide nine. Also, please keep in mind, they've let go 2 other coordinators after 1 year apiece because they couldn't run this system. Even though his tenure with the Jets was unsuccessful, he gives San Francisco an experienced head coach as a defensive coordinator in that position, which can actually it can help a head coach alleviate stressful situations during the course of the game or the season. An example is Kansas City with Reed and Spags. So him coming back here to, in a sense, to his home base where it all started, yes, they're stripping it down, they're bringing in new players, but he knows what he needs to do with these players, how to get them in the right position, and how to coach up this system. He'll communicate it well. His position coaches will relay it to the players, and he'll get the most out of these guys. So he's the one that I think is the key addition to the 49ers. Now back to you guys.
That's a good one. That is an excellent one. Rob Saleh, of course, former coach of the Jets, didn't work out there in New York. But again, like you said, no pressure on him. and he can take pressure off the head coach, which is always a good thing. Let's look at this roster, man. Let's look at, well, no, not the roster, the draft picks first. Got to get to the draft. Mikal Williams, edge out of Georgia with the first pick for San Francisco, number 11 overall. Yeah, keep building that defense. Again, you see what real teams do. Real men stand up. You know what I'm saying? Mikal Williams, Alfred Collins, Nick Martin, Stout from Western Kentucky, CJ West, defense. Then you go Jordan Watkins, Jordan James, and then they round out the roster, you know, with a quarterback and guard and a wide receiver. But what are y'all thoughts on the 49ers? Man, I talk about draft strategy, folks. They knew that defense needs an infusion of talent. They seen what they lost. They see some of these players getting older. They see some of these players starting to decline a smidget. So we're going to go defense because we got Christian McCaffrey. We got Brandon Ayuk. We got George Kittle. We got Brock Purdy. We love our offensive line. But defensively, Hufanga, Ward, you know, Greenlaw, some of the guys that you lost, Collins, yeah, what we going to do? We not going to be cute. Best player available. Let's just get a guy. Let's make it work. No, have a plan. Have a goddamn plan. 49ers got a good plan. I like this draft, man. Y'all talk to me, man. What do you like about this draft?
I like what they did defensively in this draft to replenish what they lost. But I will say the pick that I'm going to talk about is going to be another prove-it player, Mikal Williams. What are you going to do out there when they put that pressure on you to be that guy opposite of Joey Bosa, like so many other guys have been? Will you continue that culture? Will you continue that trend of being bookend edge rushers out there with Joey Bosa, man? You're going to have to, well, Nick Bosa, not Joey, but Nick Bosa. What is he going to do out there? A lot of people thought that this guy was picked too high at number 11. A lot of people don't even think he was the best edge rusher at Georgia. You know, so there was other edge rushers like a Mike Green that's out there that could have been very good opposite of Nick Bosa. But they took what? Mikal Williams. They saw something in him that they liked out of all the other edge rushers that were available. So what about this kid is it that they wind up picking him at 11? What is his skill set? We're going to see going into this season and what he does, because that defense is going to have to be the 49ers defense over again if they want to get to a Super Bowl. This is not a team that wants to be good during the regular season. This is not a team that just wants to win a couple of playoff games. This is a team that wants to bring that Lombardi back to San Francisco to add another one to that illustrious franchise. But Mikal Williams, man, you're going to have to do your thing out there with the 49ers this season. But Coach, what you got for us, man? How do you like this draft? And who do you think will be a good guy in this draft for them?
Where do I always go? It's always the trenches. And I actually like two of them, Collins and West. Different type of body
Mr.
type.
West.
But West, Indiana, quick. I mean, you know, disruptive. And Collins is a big road grader. He eats up space. So, you know, those two, you know, with what Saleh is trying to do defensively, I think is going to be key to everything. Along with Williams, like you said, Pat, you know, putting him out at that wide 9, letting him come off the edge. But I think right there, those two can be key to what they want to do going forward. And then don't forget, they're young. You develop them, and you'll have them for years to come. So those two right there, Collins and West, in the trenches.
Yeah, I'm with you. Alfred Collins. We talked about him. I did some scouting on Alfred Collins, man. I think it's going to make a huge difference on this 49ers team. Speaking of, let's take a look at the roster. Finally. Look, man. Offensively, man, I think a lot of pressure's on Brock Purdy here because you lose Deebo Samuel, you got Brandon Ayuk, you got Jawan Jennings, Ricky Purcell, but again, man, it's on you. You got your bread, homie, so you got to go out there and show and prove. Now they still got a very good offensive line, and looking over at the defense, I still like the defense. I mean, it's going to be some growing pains there. You got a couple moving pieces, but you still got Nick Bosa, still got Fred Warner, so. But y'all talk to me, man. Pat, man, set it off, man. What you like about this offense?
This 49ers offense, man, as you can look at the actual roster on here, it still has some pretty good pieces there. Ricky Purcell, Gator, can he take the place of what Deebo Samuel and them did last year? Not saying that he can be Deebo Samuel. I'm saying that he can be what he needs to be to elevate this offense. Now losing what they had in Deebo Samuel, but you still got one of the best offensive lines in the game. Especially you got one of the best offensive minds in the game, so he's gonna make it work out there. You got Christian McCaffrey, the Isaac Gwendol dude, nice, fast. In the blink of an eye, can be in the end zone. You got George Kittle. You still got Jawan Jennings. You still got Brandon Ayuk. You got Jordan Watkins coming off the bench. Jacob Cowan out of Arizona coming off the bench. That guy, DeMarcus Robinson, that we were talking about, the Rams loss, is now a 49er. So he knows the whole shebang. And don't sleep on guys like Isaiah Hodgins. He can come in and save Jawan Jennings gets hurt.
Over there. Yeah.
Yep. He's still over there. The offensive line, Trent Williams is getting a little older in the tooth. Hopefully Andre Dillard still progresses to be able to take over Williams when he retires. I believe that's their plan. But the offense is going to be dependent on Brock Purdy. Is he going to play what that contract says? Is he going to play elite football? If Brock Purdy's doing that, this offense will still be pretty much okay. You just don't have Deebo Samuel to throw to and let him run over 10 people and get in the end zone anymore. But other than that, I still think this 49ers offense is something to be reckoned with. But Coach, what you think, man?
Man, taking a look at this defense, I mean, again, you got Williams and Collins projected in the starting lineup. Opposite of Bosa, you got Jordan Elliott, who's a good player. Fred Warner, that front line keeps him clean. So again, I always talk about defensive linemen who keeps the linebackers clean. They don't let the offensive linemen get to him. That's what Collins does for Fred Warner. He keeps him clean. So, when you sit there and you look at it, you're like, okay, I'm expecting his production and him to be a high top tackling machine for the 49ers. And then when you go to the back end with Green, Brown, Mustafa, Lenore, Trey Brown, those are some good defensive backs. So, they can definitely do their thing. And on the defensive line, when you think about their backup, Gross Matos, West, Givens, and Huff behind the starters, in some places, they could pretty much start. So, Trey Avery is a good cornerback too. So, you got Nick Martin going in the second unit. Bethune, he's okay. But here's the other, and Pinnock, you talked about Pinnock, Pat, he has to prove himself. Well, he's right now projected to be on the second unit, so he has a long way to go. But here's the other thing too. We haven't talked about this for the most part. a lot of these guys can also help the special teams. So, and that's an important factor going forward. So, whether it's from the offensive side or the defensive side, they can help their special teams going forward. Because that's vitally important. When you put things in perspective. So, that's all I have. Back to you.
Yeah, absolutely. We started off doing the special teams in this show, but again, for time constraints, kickers kick, punters punt, and we know what the returners do. So, not a lot to break down, but let's get to the schedule. Seattle, they start off at Seattle, at New Orleans, 2 road games. New Orleans is always a tough place to play. We'll be previewing them coming up here soon in the NFC South preview. But, I mean, Arizona, Jacksonville, the Rams, Tampa, Atlanta. Then you go to Houston and the Giants. I mean, I see why they got them at 10-0. This schedule is weak. It's
yes,
weak.
It is.
I mean, because again, if you do what you do in your division, say you go 3-3. So let's just take the games outside of the division. New Orleans, win. Jacksonville, win. Tampa, meh. Atlanta, you could probably beat them. Houston, that'll be a test. Giants, could probably beat them. Carolina could probably beat them. Cleveland, Tennessee, the Colts, and the Bears. I mean, come on, bro. And we seen the roster. It's still good. But
yeah,
10.5, I don't know. Might be a little high. What y'all thinking, man? Right now, if I had to say it, just going off jump, I'm gonna go over for the 49ers.
Yeah. I actually agree with you because of their schedule. I'm gonna go over, and the reason why I'm gonna say over, how they get to over, let me explain that, is they're gonna show their division who's boss. If they show their division who's still that dude in that division, they could beat the Rams once, they could beat the Cardinals twice, and beat Seattle twice to go 5-1 in their division. They get to 11 wins easily. They can definitely beat Jacksonville. They can definitely beat New Orleans. They can definitely beat Cleveland and Carolina and the Titans and the Colts and the Bears. So they got
all the top 5 teams and that picked in the NFL draft. They get to play all of them.
They get to play all of them.
Jacksonville, the Giants.
Yo, so I'm definitely picking over. As long as they show that division who's boss and they'll go like 2-4 in their division. Yeah. Over. Yeah. 49ers are still there, man. 49ers are still here.
Don't overthink it, Coach.
I'm not overthinking it. I'm taking the under.
Knew you was gonna do that.
And I'm taking the under for one of the biggest reasons. I don't trust them.
Ooh.
I don't trust them health-wise.
That is true.
I really don't trust them health-wise, and that really concerns me. You guys made excellent point about the schedule, about a lot of the games. I mean, they were last in their division, so they're going to play a bottom division type of a schedule. Get it? I understand it, but the concern for me really is about, can they stay healthy? Now, if they stay healthy, yes, you guys are right. You guys are right. I'm going to be honest with you, but I just can't. And here's the other factor: they don't get a bye until week 14. They don't. They're going one after the other, and then to start, you're going to the Pacific Northwest, and then you're going down to New Orleans. That's some serious travel, man, to start the season. Now, do I think they're going to split those games? Yes, I do. I really do. So, but from there, I mean, Arizona, it's going to be a fight. Jacksonville, you guys are right. They can more than likely get that. The Rams, no. Tampa, Atlanta, toss up. Houston, if Houston plays the way that I think they can offensively and defensively, plus you have their former DC over there, so it's going to be those players are going to try and step it up. The other Rams game is going to be a battle. The Arizona game, again, it's a battle. Carolina, like you say, NYG, but I still think they have that. Cleveland, we'll see. Tennessee, we'll see. The Colts, I think they got that. Chicago, can't just sleep on Chicago. I mean, it's still going to be a tough game. And then Seattle, so there's a lot of 50-50 games, and to me, it's really contingent upon their health more than anything. They're healthy, then yeah, I'm with you guys. I can see them winning 11 games. Yeah, I can.
Yeah, I think it's shaping up to be that way. I mean, this 49ers team, they got a break because they had all the injuries. They were a Super Bowl team. They had a bunch of injuries. So they still got a pretty good roster overall. They just had a down year. And when you get teams like that and they can retool and replenish, and then you get the break of having a soft schedule on top of it because you were a last place team, like you said, Coach, I think it's setting up real nice for this 49ers team. And to be honest with you, as we wrap up this preview, I could actually see 3 of these teams competing for the playoffs. In the Rams, the Cardinals, and the 49ers. I'm down on the Seahawks. I don't think the Seahawks I don't know. But these other 3 teams, I think they got something cooking here in the NFC West. I'm not going to hold you. Because the Rams were there, like you said, last year. And they lost to the Eagles. But again, they were in that game, man. The 49ers, like I said, coming off a Super Bowl. And then the Cardinals, they won 8 games last year, and they got better. We showed you how they got better. So, Seattle, I think, is transitioning. I don't like how you flipping the coach and the court. I don't really like what they doing over there. But they still a good team. Still a very good team with a very good defense and a quarterback that got a lot of money, that's got something to prove. So we'll see with the Seahawks, but like I said, them other 3 teams, yeah. It's starting off well, man, with this NFC preview, starting with the NFC West. But what's you guys' final thoughts on the NFC West, man, as we get ready to get out of here? Pat.
Truly believe that it's going to be a race between the 49ers and the Rams and the Cardinals. And it could go either way based on health. Because like Coach said, you made a valid point. They don't get to bye to week 14, and they're known to get injured. So playing 14 games in a row, can Christian McCaffrey last 14 games in a row? Can Nick Bosa last 14 games? Can Ayuk last 14 games? That's gonna be a sight to see. And that Rams team, they're always there. They got Devontae Adams to replace Cooper Kupp, and that defense is going nowhere, and they are young and hungry. Like, they ready to get it. And then the Arizona Cardinals, are they going to take over the culture of their head coach? They're looking to get defensive, and their offense is nothing to sneeze at. So it's between those 3 teams, and I agree with you, NYG. I think the Seahawks they're going to be the whipping boy over there, man. I just don't trust Sam Darnold, man. I don't at all. But I think it's going to be a race between those 3 teams, and man, you're going to see highs and lows of each one of those teams in parts of the season. So the NFC West is going to be a shootout, man. It's going to be the Wild Wild West. Man, they're going to be shooting those guns out there. We're going to see what them boys going to do out there. Bullets are going to be flying, especially on the defensive side of the ball. But Coach, let us know, man, what you got, brother.
This is a division that's defensive minded right now. I mean, all of them, every last one of them. You know, you might want to say the Rams might not be as stout defensively as the other three, but they're no slouch. They're no scrubs, as Stephen A. will say. So this is a defense based on. I mean, this is a division based on defense. The running game will become a factor along the way. Injuries. This is also another factor. So, and I could see actually all four fighting for a playoff spot. I could see all four. So, and I'm probably the one that's the highest on the Seahawks right now.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
you know,
I don't see it.
very high on them.
I don't see it at all.
So I get it. I understand. New quarterback, new coach. I get all
And
that.
that coach, Mike McDonald. I don't know.
I get it. But if I'm not mistaken, McDonald's also a defensive minded coach too. So
I think their defense is gonna be the best part of their team. I don't know.
I
When you
think
lose
Sam
both of your
Darnold is
top,
going to wet the bed, man. I'm
yeah,
telling
they
you.
can run. If you can play defense and run and give them,
Yeah,
don't make
they
them
get
go
Jalen
wrong.
Milroe in there and they start to build a system around Jalen Milroe. Yeah, they gonna be something to be worried about because they and I like their offensive line. I like what they're doing on the offensive line, but they still need some more pieces. Yeah, but
That's what I have for you guys.
yeah, that's gonna be the NFC West. But we will be right back because we are definitely gonna have another preview coming up for you guys. Next up, man, we going down south, going to the dirty south, the NFC South, man. Can't wait to preview this division. It's gonna be another division. I think a very equally matched division, much like this one here. But I'm NYG22, aka Unpopular Opinion Sports, with Big Pat Sports Talk and Coach Ed Gladney from Coach Ed's Amazing World of Sports. We are the Aboriginal Sports Network. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you on the next go round.
Peace.
Peace.
ABSN.